What's up, chicken butts? Hello. I just want to give you another update. It's funny because, I'm trying to do this Vlogmas thing, but I'm not really trying to do it. I'm not like, Vlogmas. It's like I better do a video today. So last night I finished, Lana of Gathul, who is John Carter's granddaughter, who is the daughter of Terra of Helium and I can't remember his name now. G something. The people from Chessmen of Mars. But anyway, this book was the last book published during Edgar Burroughs' lifetime as a book. And it contains 4 novelettes, okay, that were published in Amazing Stories magazine. The City of Mummies was March 1941. Black Pirates of Barsoom was June 41. Yellow Men of Mars was August 41. And Invisible Men of Mars was October 41. And the first edition of this book was released in August of 1963. All right. So that is the brief history of this. The thing that makes this cool, if you remember my review of the Jungle Tales of Tarzan, where it was like a bunch of short stories that were kind of interconnected. That's the same with this, but the interconnectiveness, I think, is a little stronger. This is basically about John Carter rescuing Lana and trying to get her back to either Gathol or Helium, where he lives. And as they go about their business, like in the first one, in the book though, it's called something else, The Ancient Dead. It's pretty interesting. And then, oh yeah, that got changed. Okay. I don't want to give it away because it's a really good story. And I've been trying to think. Like, there's parts of it that I've seen done in other stuff, but there's like a big chunk of it that I don't know if I've ever seen in another story. I mean, yeah, there's stories like it, and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about because you haven't read it yet. Maybe, maybe not. But anyway, so he finds her in The Ancient Dead, which is the first novelette or whatever. And long story short, they are trapped in this like series of like underground tunnels, like a maze kind of thing that this civilization built, and they keep running into people down there who are basically batshit crazy, and I can't say anything else about it, but that's where he finds her. So they get out of there, and the next story is the Black Pirates of Mars, but I think it was Black Pirates of Barsoom originally. Yeah. Oh wait, no, it was still called the Black Pirates of Barsoom. This takes us back to the gods of Mars and like the Valley of Dor. Why every time? You guys have been fine all morning. Go get up on your bed. Go. Yeah, go get up on your bed. No, not you, Fred. Gizmo, go get up on your bed. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. They really don't like me talking to the computer in the morning. Usually in the afternoon, they don't even care. They're asleep all afternoon. Yeah, there he goes. They got food and water. They're happy. Okay, that was a huge detour. Um, so when we get to the Black Pirates of Barsoom, um, they basically capture them, and John Carter has to basically do some like arena fighting with like the best people of Barsoom, and he's freaking out because he's waiting for somebody to recognize him as the guy who basically destroyed their whole culture and civilization, like in Gods of Mars. So that's pretty cool. And then in the and they escape from there. And then in the third story, the Yellow Men of Mars, if you remember the yellow Martians with the like dark black beards and dark black hair, they lived it like basically like the South Pole, I guess. Um, and it's just like an ice place. Um, but like they have this dome, and then inside the dome, everything's like normal, like green grass and tepid temperature and all this other stuff. So then they got to get out of there, and then in the last story, they find this the Invisible Men of Mars. They find this like hidden jungle, and it's not like the Invisible Men in which one was that? Swords of Mars. It's these people could take this like capsule that makes them invisible for a certain amount of time. So like the police types and the warriors, when they're like out in the jungle, they're invisible, and that way they could like catch intruders or catch whatever they need to catch. Um, and again, we have John Carter having to like compete in some tournament thing, um, in order to kind of get out of the situation that he's in. The funny bit about this is, and it was kind of out of character for John Carter because he's such a noble dude. He tricks this girl into thinking that he's in love with her so she could help them escape. And it's really awkward. And I don't want to ruin it, but so that happens, and that was a little strange for me. Um, but the way the story is put together in a from like a writer standpoint, the storytelling here is really good because the overarching arc is he has to rescue Lana, and that's it. And then he gets into all these adventures with her, and it's almost exactly like a normal John Carter book because it's about the same length. They get into the same amount of adventures. And in a lot of the books, it's like broken up like Act 1, this is our adventure. Act 2, we go here and this is our adventure. Um, so it's like, yes, it was four separate stories, but it didn't feel like four separate stories because the whole time he's trying to rescue her. So, I wouldn't look at it as a collection of short stories or whatever. I would just look at it as another book that has John Carter in the lead role, which is awesome. I have a little bit of time. Okay, so then I started the last actual John Carter book, or Barsoom book, or whatever, John Carter of Mars. Now, John Carter of Mars was two completely separate stories that were put out. And the first one, which is called John Carter and the Giant of Mars, it's really strange. And I'm really glad that this version has an introduction, because the other version of this book I have doesn't have an introduction. So reading this was really awesome. Like, it basically goes through the entire John Carter Barsoomian series, tells you what all the books are about and whatever. But there is, or was, a lot of controversy surrounding the stories that are in this book. Mainly the first one, The Giant of Mars, because, and that, I've read that one. I haven't read the last story in here, which is called The Skeleton Men of Jupiter. But I had to just, like, get through The Giant of Mars, because I wanted to see what all the hubbub was about. And a lot of, like, Edgar Rice Burroughs, like, hardcore fans read it and say this is not what a John Carter book is. Like, there's so many discrepancies in here that, like, it's ridiculous. One of them is that it's told in third person, and Thuvia Maid of Mars was also told in third person. And all the Tarzan books that I've read so far have been in third person. So Edgar Rice Burroughs can write in third person. So that's not that big of a deal. But there's certain things, like, they refer to him as like John Carter, but then they'll refer to him as the Earthman. The Earthman did this. The Earthman saw that. The Earthman did this. John Carter saw that. And I don't remember any of the books doing that whole Earthman thing like that. So that was kind of weird. There were a couple other bits, like, and I could be wrong about this, but it just stuck out to me. Like, in the beginning, they're, like, riding through the woods, him and Deja Thoris, and she's, like, holding on to him and caressing his, what did he say? I don't know. There were some, like, descriptive words. There were some, like, pretty hardcore adjectives about his physique that sounded kind of romancy, that I don't remember ever hearing before. So that was that. But it turns out the editor of this book hit up the because I think these were published in Argosy. Shit, it doesn't say. Okay, whatever. But he hit up the. Oh wait, no, I think it was Amazing. Stories, wasn't it? I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, it was Amazing Stories. Um, he hit up that guy and said, like, do you have, like, any proof that Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote Giant? And he's like, well, I know he did, but I don't have any of the manuscript stuff because that was burned in a fire and blah, 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 blah. And so he hits up one of Edgar Rice Burroughs' sons and says, hey, is there any record of this book anywhere? And so he went and dug through a bunch of stuff, and the only thing he found was the pay stub from the check. So he did get paid for it, which, if it wasn't his, you could say that he might have, like, farmed it out or something. But the truth of the matter is that a children's book company hit him up and asked if he could do a John Carter book for children. And one of his sons was going to illustrate it. So it would be like words on one side, a picture on the other side. Words on one side, picture on the other side. So because he was going to be illustrating it with him, he had him help him put it together. And as that was going on, he got hit up by Amazing Stories, or was it Amazing Science Fiction? I can't remember, but it was Amazing something. And they wanted a story, so he added like 5,000 words to it and made it a little more grown up, which makes sense because the other thing that was bothering me, the guns they have in this series, they're called radium pistols, and they're just like, they shoot radium rays, but in Giant they're atom guns, and I'm like, what the heck? But like, it would make sense, like an atom would probably be more in a child's vernacular than what the fuck radium is. So that might, I don't know. So anyway, it was a pretty decent story. It harkened back to a couple other things. One of the things that I really loved about it is that Tars Tarkas is back, and he's been one of my favorite characters. So the Skeleton Men of Jupiter is the last Burroughs John Carter story I have to read, and I'm going to read it today. You know how I am about finishing things. If I could have anything happen in this story, I would want Woola in it, who was like his weird dog thing, and Gek, who was the head of one of those bodies with no heads and chessmen of Mars. I hope they're on this adventure with them. I'm not holding my breath, but that would be cool as hell. And then I'll tell you the background on that story when I do that video. So that's what's been going on. So I guess that's it, guys. I'll talk to you soon.